So as in the previous topic, the vector space, we had the representation of the vector in terms of the bases which are orthogonal unit vectors. So we have considered thereupon, I think previous to that particular topic, in the Fourier series and geometry, or geometry from the vector algebra, I have taken the concept of the coordinate system. The three types of the coordinate systems I have addressed. Rectangular, also known by Cartesian. The second one, it was the cylindrical, and the third one was the spherical coordinate system. So in the rectangular coordinate system, there were three references, x, y, z axis, and using those particular axes and the corresponding unit vectors, we had the representation of a vector. For the same vector, we had the representation in cylindrical coordinate system using the three parameters rho, phi and z, the corresponding unit vectors a rho, a phi and a z, and into the spherical coordinate system also the three parameters r, theta and phi. So ar, a phi and a theta, these were the unit vectors. So that we have seen for the vector spaces here. Now considering the Fourier series as the mathematical tool, which is basically the extension of this particular idea of the vector spaces for the functions, or in another words I can say that the concept of this particular basis has been adopted by the functional representations. So function is any kind of a signal that holds certain kind of information here. So a function can also be expressed in terms of the set of orthogonal functions. So let us talk about what are the orthogonal functions and then what are the orthonormal functions. In general, a function can be any quantity that varies with respect to one or more running parameter, which is basically the independent one, and that is most of the time taken to be a time or the space. Space means measure of distance, here we take measure of length, here we take here, or sometimes when we switch to the another domain instead of time, the frequency is also one of the consideration here. Now talking about the orthogonality. Orthogonality of the function basically depends on the multiplication and integration of the functions here. Now for example, if we take the two real functions denoted f1 of t and f2 of t, they are said to be orthogonal if and only if they satisfy the following mathematical criteria. So in this mathematical criteria, you see here we have on the left hand side the integral of, so here it is the integral sign along with the dt. The integration extends from minus infinity to plus infinity, and this is for the multiplication of f1 of t and f2 of t, and it is expected to have the result to be equal to 0 if the result of the integration of the multiplication of these two functions f1 of t and f2 of t is equal to 0. So that time, by this definition, we can call the two functions f1 of t and f2 of t to be the orthogonal functions here. See what exactly we are doing here. We are having a point by point multiplication of the two functions, and then we are having a summation of the area under the resulting function here. So if this area is equal to 0, we say the two functions are orthogonal here. Why we are doing this? If we find out it to be equal to 0, we can say that these two functions are totally independent. No component of first function lies into the direction of the second, and similarly no component of the second function lies into the direction of the first component. So when both of these particular functions are independent, we can say they are orthogonal to each other, and using these particular functions we can have the representation of other functions. So these become the basis. So that is what the condition of the orthogonality, and such basic functions are called as the orthogonal functions here. So let us have one example. So in this example we illustrate with the help of a figure here. So in this figure we shall have the two signals. The first signal will be denoted by f1 of t, that is the sine function. Here you see f1 of t is equal to sine t here, and next to that we have the second function denoted by f2 of t, which is equal to cosine of the t here. Now in this particular diagram we have time as a parameter, independent parameter on the horizontal axis. You can see the time markings here. Right from 0 we have initiated 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 till we have, and the measure of amplitude is plotted on the vertical axis. At the middle here we have the 0, and then we have certain negative values, minus 0.2, minus 0.4, minus 0.6, minus 0.8, minus 1, and similar is the case in the positive as well. So from 0 to 1 we have the plot. So the solid line is showing us the cosine t function here, which is basically our second function f2 of t, whereas the dashed line is the sine t function here, which is the representation of the first function, and the multiplication of the two, that it is sine t asterisk cosine t here, that it is representation with this kind of the dash dot line here. So the area above the t-axis means the time axis, as we have represented at the bottom, is the same as the area below the t-axis. Here we have at the middle the 0 level here. So therefore we can say that the sine t and cosine t are orthogonal in the range 0 to 2 pi here. So this is what the information in words I have given to you. So the area above the t-axis, you can see in the figure, is same as the area below the t-axis, and therefore we say that the sine t and cosine t, the functional representations by f1 of t and f2 of t, so these are the orthogonal, and this is into the range 0 to 2 pi here. Now the geometrical analog of the functional representation using the integral, if it is equal to 0, is the dot product here for the I and j functions here, and here we shall definitely discuss about. So taking a dot product into the vector space, that is multiplying the corresponding terms and adding, is equivalent to multiplying and integrating the functional space, that is pointwise multiplication and further integration here. So here we see, after the orthogonal functions, the orthonormal functions here. So for the orthonormal functions, again we take for example the two f1 of t and f2 of t. These are said to be orthonormal if and only if they satisfy the condition of, first of all, the orthogonality, that is integral minus infinity to infinity, the multiplication of the two f1 of t and f2 of t dt is equal to 0, and then if we have the integral minus infinity to infinity for fi of t into fi of t dt is equal to 1 for I is equal to 1 and 2 here. So that time we can say that these two functions are orthonormal functions here. So this was all about the orthogonal functions and the orthonormal functions. The two understanding should be very clear here. So mathematically you should have this particular two equations into your memory. The first one is describing you the condition of the orthogonality, and if the condition of orthogonality is satisfied by a pair of functions here, so that time if the second equation is also satisfied, so that time we can say that the two functions are orthonormal functions here. So in the next lecture we shall continue into the same chapter, wavelet transformation, and we shall address the topic functional spaces. So in the functional spaces, as like in the previous video the vector space, we had defined the three-dimensional vector space and had the representation of any kind of the vector using the base vectors, I can say here. So the similar kind of thing we are going to adopt for the signal representation here. So let us see into the next lecture. Thank you.